All right, good morning, crazy kids. It is 7:10. I was going to film this yesterday, but I got tired, so I went home. So, we're going to do a lesson this morning. Remember, 1/2 hour. Take notes. This is a super important lesson, especially for you AP people. AP people, you must know everything in this lesson by heart. All right? Okay, we're going to talk about... We've been talking about the general election, the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of even-numbered years. Now I'm going to tell you how in many respects that election doesn't really matter because the decision was already made in an earlier election called a primary, in which each party determined which one of their people would be on the general election ballot. All right, so let's go. So we're going to talk about primary versus general elections and the special case that happens every 4 years, including this year. It already happened in March, the presidential primaries and caucuses. All right, okay. Okay. Everybody open this up in this website in a new tab. And regular gov in Ian slide 9, you are going to, once you get to this, you'll see that there's a pull down menu for elections. Go to elections calendar and upcoming events, and you will write down the dates of, not the registration deadline for, but the actual dates of these 3 elections. These 3 elections, all right? AP, I want you to write these in your notes. Pause it. While you're at it, regular government Ian slide 10, AP put in your notes, at that same website, under the elections pull down menu, there is an information about recognized political parties. I want you to write down the 3 political parties that are recognized under Arizona law. Recognized meaning Arizona will run a primary for that political party. All right? Get those things done. Okay, what is a primary? In a primary, voters select a party's candidate to run in the general election. Voters will select a party's candidate to run in the general election for a specific office. For a specific office. For a specific office. For example, you know, for U.S. senator, or for a congressperson. We are in Congressional District 4. Or for state offices like governor. Or this woman, she's a state elected official, our Arizona Secretary of State. All of those people were selected in a primary. All right, we're selected in a primary. So in a primary election, this is voters select the party's candidate to run in the general election, to be on the general election ballot. To be on the general election ballot. There's only one party member for each office that is on the general election ballot. Why would that be? Well, you know what, do the Republicans want 2 people on the general election ballot? If there's 2 Republicans and 1 Democrat, well, guess what can happen, right? The Republicans could split the Republican vote and get the Democrat elected. So it's very important to only have 1 member of your party on the general election ballot. Does everybody get that? All right. This is the one that happens in August in Arizona, correct? This is the one that happens in August. This is the one that happens in June. In June, voters select the actual office holder from all candidates who are running, both party and independent. Both party and independent. So wait, you're like having a light bulb going on and you're like, wait a minute. You can be an independent and get straight on the general election ballot. Why would you mess with a primary? What do people do when they go into the ballot box? Republicans do what? Boom, 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 boom. They ticket vote, right? Democrats ticket vote. Are you going to win as an independent? Remember, there are 435 members of the House. There are 100 members of the Senate. Of these, there's 535. 535. Of those, there are 2 independents in the Senate. There are 2 independents. Do you have to run as a party member to get elected in the United States? Yes, because of the lesson that you guys just did on winner-take-all versus proportional representation systems. All right, you guys good? All right. Don't be confused by this. And AP, get your lingo right. Get your lingo right, because there are presidential elections every 4 years, right? And there are midterm elections every 4 years. It goes presidential, midterm, presidential, midterm, presidential, midterm, right? Within each of those election cycles, there is always a state direct primary. That's the one that we have in August. This one, all right? I'm going to put this over here. You put it in your notes too. State, well, AP will also call them direct primary election. This is the one that happens in August in Arizona, right? This one happens on the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November of even-numbered years. Remember, there will be a primary, there will be a state primary every 2 years. These happen every 2 years. They always happen in conjunction with a general election, all right? What happens in the presidential election cycle, we also will have these, the presidential primaries and caucuses, right? So, we are in a presidential year, so you had 3 dates. In 2022, you will not have 3 dates. You will only have the 2 dates. Everybody got that? Super important. So don't mix up your language. All right? Don't say it's a, you know, in a midterm election, there is both a primary and a general. You don't say a primary versus a midterm. AP will mark you wrong, right? If they say a primary versus a presidential, they will mark you wrong. It's primary versus general, and they happen within the election cycles of presidentials and midterms. Confusing, but that's the way it goes. All right, what are primaries? What are primaries? Okay, so look, a party only wants one of their candidates on the ballot, right? So what happened in the old days, before the late 1800s, early 1900s, what happened? Party bosses, political elites met in smoke-filled rooms, and they said, who should we, the Democrats, have run for United States Senate? Well, we're going to pick this person of our liking. And the voters didn't have a choice. Smoke-filled rooms, patronage. What is patronage? Well, that is handing out jobs or for political office. So, you know, the political muckety-mucks are going to hand out the office to somebody who is going to scratch their back by hiring a bunch of people that the party boss wants to be hired, right? And getting money sent back to his people. All right, so there was a frustration about this, because understand this, if you live in a state, if you live in a state that is Republican, if the state is Republican, is the Republican going to win the general election? Think about that. If you live in a state that is Republican, is and you're running for statewide office, is the Republican always going to win? And the answer is yes. We are Arizona. We are Arizona. Here's Arizona. We are in Congressional District 4. Congressional District 4 is heavily Republican. 70% of the voters are Republican. Guess who always wins the general election in Arizona for Congressional District 4? The Republican. So, in places that were heavily controlled by one party or another, this decision by party bosses and political elites as to who their candidate was the real decision, right? Because the person they picked automatically won in the November election. So there was a movement in the early 1900s. Every state, in response to this movement to open up elections, passed primary laws so voters could have a say in who ran for office, all right? Because if you are in Illinois, which is heavily Democrat, and you are running for governor, the Democratic candidate is going to win. And the real choice is in the primary, all right? What I just said, AP, you must understand and know by heart. All states have primaries. All of them. All of them. All states have state direct primaries. These elections are for Congress and state offices only, not the president. Not the president. That is handled by the presidential primary and caucus process. In Arizona, ours happens in August. All right. What is the... Hold on a second. I'm just going to do this. So how do these work? How do these work? I'm going to turn this off. By the way, the primary we have in August is really 3 elections, because when you walk in, you're going to get a ballot for either, you can't vote in all 3. You're either going to vote in the Democratic primary, the Republican primary, or the Libertarian primary, right? So the answer to Ian's slide 1 were those 3 parties are recognized. So how does this work? So here is the August election, right? Okay, so this time who's going to be on for the state? So the first one, let's say the August, and we're going to do the Democrats. We're going to do the Democrats, we're going to do the Republicans, and we'll do the Libertarians. All right, so the first office is going to be for Senate. Now these are the 3 different possible ballots. These are the 3 different possible ballots. I hate my marker's not working. Ready? I missed. All right, these are the 3 different possible ballots. Right, so Senate, write these down as an example, all right? Senate. Now, and these are the elections happening in August, right? The August primary. Follow me? Okay, now there's going to be a number of offices on the ballot, but I'm just going to show you 2. Senate, and then, because this is happening in our county, I'm going to say Congressional District 4. Congressional District 4. Congressional District 4. All right? Okay, let's say that 2 Democrats want to be on the general election ballot. So I'm going to say there's D1 and there's D2. All right? For Congress, let's say there's D1 and D2 for Congress. All right? For Republicans, let's say there's R1 and R2 that are running. For Congressional District 4, they'd say there's R1, R2, and R3 are running. For the Senate, for Libertarians, there's only L1. And there is nobody running for Congressional District 4. All right? Now, this is the November general election. This is the general election ballot. This time there's going to be how many ballots? This time there is just going to be one ballot, right? Okay, what's going to be on that ballot? Senate. All right, there's going to be an R. There's going to be a D. There's going to be an L. By the way, can there be independents that run and skip this whole process? Yes, let's say there's independent 1, there's independent 2, all right? Then the next office will be Congressional District 4, right? Congressional District 4, all right. There will be one Republican. There will be one Democrat. There will be, do we have anybody running? We don't have a Libertarian, right? The Libertarians didn't even participate in the primary. Could there be an independent? Yes. Could there be a couple independents? Yes. Okay, so the primary in August takes place, all right? Who wins? For the Democrats, D2 wins. Where does D2 go? D2 becomes the candidate over here on the general election ballot. Who wins the Republican one? Let's say R1 wins. Where does R1 go? R1 comes right here, right? This guy, did he automatically win? He automatically won. There was no opposition. So this is going to be L1. Now, there could be independent 1 and independent 2. All right, so this is the ballot you'll see in November. Make sense? All right, Congressional District 4. Let's say that D1 won the primary and R3 won the primary. So this is going to be R3 and this is going to be D1. And then there could be a couple independents on there. Now, if you win this election, you win the right to be the only party member on the general election ballot. If you win this, you are United States Senator, right? And if you win this, you are the congressman from Congressional District 4. Make sense? All right, that's what primaries are. That's what primaries are. Pretty straightforward, really, if you think about it. What happened was it took the power to decide who the party members were on the general election ballot out of political elites, right? Out of the hands of political elites and put it in the hands of the people. A cool idea at the time. I personally think it has all fallen apart, and I will explain why. All right? Okay, we got 11 minutes. Perfect. These state direct primaries, and the presidential primaries, both I'll explain the difference, can be closed or open. Oh, AP, you must understand this. You guys, everybody has to understand this for my test. So in a closed primary, only party members can vote. How do you become a party member? You register, right? Only registered, put that in, only registered party members can vote. And they must vote their party's ballot. They must vote their party's ballot. If you go on August 4th, down to the voting place, over here at the Lions, wherever the vote center was, I show them my ID. If I am a registered Republican, what ballot are they going to give me? They're going to give me the Republican ballot. If I walk in as a Democrat, what ballot are they going to give me? If I walk in as a Libertarian, what ballot are they going to give me? If I walk in as an independent, not affiliated, what are they going to do? They're going to tell me to go home. I can't vote, right? Open. All voters can take part, both registered Democrats, registered Republicans, registered Libertarians, and people that are not affiliated. All voters can take part, and they can pick which party's ballot to vote on. They can only vote on one. You can only vote once, all right? Now, AP kids, regular guys, you don't have to do this. AP kids do a search on open primary rating. Open primary rating. And write a definition of that. And then let's talk about it in class, whether you think that's a real concern or not. All right? Unfortunately, we have to learn a third one because Arizona does a blend of these two. Arizona does something called semi-closed. All right, a semi-closed. In Arizona, it's actually kind of an advantage to be an independent because if you go down to vote and you are a Republican, they give you the Republican ballot. If you are a Democrat, they give you the Democratic ballot. If you are an independent, non-affiliated voter that did not register with either of any of the political parties that are recognized, you said, I am not affiliated, then they ask you which ballot you want to vote on. Which ballot you want to vote on. All right? So, if registered with a party, you must vote that party's ballot. If independent, you may pick a ballot. This sounds great, but if you put yourself on the early voting, the early mail ballot, early mail-in voting list, right? You get your ballot mailed to you. They will not mail you a ballot automatically if you are an independent. They will write you a letter saying, oh, please call us up and tell us what ballot you want to have mailed. How many people bother to do that? Not very many, so I don't know how much of a difference these have made. Make sense? All right. 2 problems with primaries. All right. Turnout is going to be what in a primary? High or low? High or low? How many people just don't understand this process and they don't even bother to go and vote? Turnout is going to be what? Low. Turnout is going to be low, especially in what kind? Open or closed? Which one do you expect? Remember, and you can check this on the Arizona Secretary of State website, look under Elections tab and voter registration, you will see that there are about 1/3 people of Arizona that are registered as independent, non-affiliated, all right? Which means automatically 1/3 of voters are, if in a state that has a closed primary, all of the independents cannot even participate, right? So think about what's going to happen, especially in a closed primary, right? By the way, which one do parties like? Do parties like closed or open? Do parties like to control the process? Heck yes, they like closed primaries. Okay, now, very sophisticated stuff, AP, and you regular guys. We're going to have a writing assignment, everybody, that talks about this, so pay attention. Primaries lead to polarization in Congress. That is also known as party polarization. What is party polarization? Party polarization in Congress is no Democrats voting for a Republican bill or no Republicans voting for a Democrat bill. All right? Obamacare. How many Republicans voted for Obamacare? The answer is 0. 0 members of the Republican Party voted in favor of it in both the House or the Senate. That is a polarization score of 1.0. That is perfect polarization, all right? I'm sorry, you cannot, by the way, all the Democrats voted for it, right? Look, you cannot tell me that not one Republican thought it was a good idea. And you cannot tell me that one Democrat thought it was a bad idea. So what happened? What happened? All right. Now, don't confuse polarization in Congress, which is when the Republicans and Democrats just fight with each other and never compromise, right? Never cross the aisle and vote for each other's bills to get stuff done. They're just too busy fighting, all right, with polarization in the electorate, which is, you know, voters in different conservative and liberal camps that don't talk to each other anymore, right? By the way, what is the difference? A voter is somebody who votes. What is a constituent? Write this down. A constituent is somebody an elected official represents. A voter is somebody who votes for an elected official. A constituent is somebody an elected official represents. Can they be two different things? Well, heck yeah. First of all, children can't vote, but are they still constituents? Are we still constituents of Paul Gosar, even our congressman from Congressional District 4, even though we are, you guys, most of you are too young to vote? Yes. What about a prison? Nobody in a prison can vote because they're all felons, right? But they're still a congressman's constituency. They're still a senator's constituency if they're in that state, all right? Why does this happen? Why does this happen? All right, this is a very sophisticated point. All right. Who votes in primaries? Remember, we talked about the Democratic coalition and the Republican coalition, right? Remember, Democratic coalition, young people, minorities, women. Republican coalition, look at me, old white guys, right? Now, but because turnout is low, who shows up to vote in primaries? Is it like the regular, moderate, rational, reasonable people? Well, in a closed primary, most of those people are registered as independents and they can't even vote. Even in an open primary, most of the independents don't bother to vote. Who votes in a primary? This is a word you must understand because it is a huge word that we're going to talk about a whole bunch, AP and my regular guys. The party base. Who is the party base? Well, the party base are those hardcore Republicans and Democrats that vote in primaries, right? They are the hardcore conservatives or liberals who vote for extremists, not moderates. These are the people who will punish incumbents who compromised with the other side when they run in their next primary to get elected. All right, so understand how this means, all right? You are Paul Gosar. You're in Congress. There's this Democratic bill that you think is a really great idea for the country. But for one reason or another, it really angers your base, right? You do the right thing. You vote AP, we're going to learn these terms. You vote trustee instead of delegate. We're going to learn those later. You vote trustee. You do the right thing, even though it's not popular with your base. Now, are you going to, if you win your primary, are you going to win the general election in Congressional District 4 as a Republican? The answer is yes. 70% of the voters in Congressional District 4 are Republican. Your danger is in your primary. Your danger is in your primary. Now, who is going to challenge you in your primary? Is it some Republican moderate? Or is it some like crazy super right-wing guy who says, Paul Gosar, you compromised on your pure Republican principles. I'm even more conservative than you. I will never compromise with these Democrats. All right, do you follow me? So what does Gosar have to do? If Gosar wants to get reelected, can he compromise with the Democrats? When the only people voting in his primary is the base, right? Is the base. And the answer is no, all right? By the way, what is an incumbent? Write this down. An incumbent is a person in office running for re-election. A person in office running for re-election. All right, we're going to do another slide talking about this stuff, but this is enough for one day, isn't it? All right, cool.